Welcome to Comics with Dan. This is the Comics Commute number 30. Big milestone here. I'm going to probably say that for every 5 episodes, but that's fine. So you can see I'm back in my regular digs. Got the old mirror fixed on my car, so we're back in business on that front. I read a little bit this week, and I'm going to be picking up my pulls from last week and this week on Wednesday, today, for you whenever this comes out. So in the past week, I read Something is Killing the Children number 40, but I'll have a separate review up on that by the time that this comes out. But I also read Superman Smashes the Klan, and I read Superman for All Seasons, which I had already read that before, but I'm still going to talk about it because it's one of the greatest books of all time. And I read Weapon X by Barry Windsor Smith. So that's sort of what I hit this past week. And then upcoming, I have from last week, I have World's Finest number 30. I have Nightwing 117, and of the books coming out this week, I only have Void Rival. All right, so let's get into it. So, Superman Smashes the Klan is one that I've been meaning to read, and it's a YA graphic novel. Although I guess it was released in single issues, so it's just a regular trade, but. I do think that it's branded with the DC YA label, and so I've been thinking about letting my 9-year-old read it, but it's just tough because that's some intense stuff going on there. But it's so important that message kind of go out there that I don't know. I might have her hold off a little bit, but probably pretty soon have her read that, because I think that it has a really important message, which is basically along the lines of you don't have to be afraid of who you are and try to fit in, but you can be yourself and still sort of coexist with everyone, right? So that message is told from the perspective of the little girl. I know that the American name she chose was Roberta. I can't remember what her Chinese name, her real name was. And then it's also told from the point of view of Superman. So, which I thought was pretty cool. And the fact that in this particular quote unquote continuity, right, is that Superman is Superman for a little while before he even realizes he can fly. And it goes into this whole thing about how he's holding back because he wants everyone to know that he's just like them, but stronger and faster. But if he can fly, then all bets are off. So I thought that was a really interesting take. It gets a ton of praise, and I think it's deserved. I mean, it's a really, really good story and a really good message. It's well done. I'm not generally big on the manga / anime style art, as I've said before, but again, I could tell that this was well done, right? It's not a style that I generally go for, but I can still tell that the art is quality. So yeah, I mean, if you have a early teenager, maybe even a preteen, they could probably take this on. It's a lot though. I mean, it's definitely, if your kid's scare is easy, then maybe not, and that's part of the reason that I'm holding back on it a bit. Is I don't want to give any nightmares, but yeah. So Superman Smashes the Klan. It was really good. I'd been meaning to read it for such a long time. So I'm glad I finally got around to it. All right, so I decided that I'm going to start being very blatant about drinking my Panera coffee here on the show, in hopes that I will someday get a sponsorship from them. I emailed them about it already, so we'll see how that goes. And I get the Sip Club, and it's like $15 a month, and I can have as much coffee as I want, which is awesome. It's a fantastic deal. So I also read Superman for All Seasons. So I'm working on a video covering the 4 primary origin stories for Superman, which are in this video are For All Seasons, Secret Origin, Man of Steel by John Byrne, and Birthright by Mark Waid. So I reread that recently, because that's the one I very recently read Secret Origin, and I very recently read Secret Origin, but I had to go back and reread Birthright and For All Seasons and Man of Steel. So, but it's just so good. I mean, it's the perfect combination of Superman being this extremely powerful yet, gentle and caring person, and it shows his struggles, which is something I really liked about the Man of Steel movie. That movie really shows how Superman sort of struggles with what he should be doing with these powers, and For All Seasons does that too. Now, I'm a big Zack Snyder guy, but For All Seasons does it a lot better than Zack Snyder did. But it's such a good book. I'm really thinking about going and getting the Absolute version. I don't own any Absolute versions of anything, but I really want to get Absolute Superman for All Seasons. I think between that and my favorite comic book of all time, and what I think is quite possibly the best comic book of all time, is Batman the Long Halloween, which is another Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale book. But they it's so good. I think that between those two, I'd like to get both of the Absolute versions of those. I already own the trade paperback of Long Halloween, but I don't own anything for the For All Seasons, so I might just go ahead and go straight to the Absolute version. Yeah, Superman for All Seasons, and then make sure you keep an eye out for the Superman Origin video. I've got the script ready. I'm hoping to record it sometime this week to be really edited and released by maybe sometime next week. So we'll see how that goes. But I'll be posting about it. So just keep an eye out on here and on Twitter and Instagram and all those places. I also read Weapon X by Barry Windsor Smith. I picked this up from the library solely because I think his art is just some of the best art I've ever seen. And it was... I enjoyed reading it, but it was a really, really confusing read. The letters were just like all over the place and not really at all clear the order you're supposed to read them in, and they very frequently did this thing where the letters you were reading are supposed to go from top left down and then over and then back up, which I thought was really strange and really unnatural, which maybe plays well into the topic of the book, because that book is strange and unnatural. but the art in it is just gorgeous, and I would really love to see some black and white, images of this art. I mean, it has that like, I don't even know when it came out though. It has that sort of, at least the version that I read, I don't know if it was like recolored or what, but it had this almost 90s-esque coloring to it, which I don't think it came out in the 90s. I thought it came out in like the 80s. But I would like to try to find it, at least find one of the single issues, just to see a comparison. Because what I read was like, I think it was like a 2000, I don't know if it was 2008 or 2018 printing of the book. So I can't help but feel like the coloring seemed off to me for the time period, is I guess what I'm trying to say. So I would really like to try to find a single issue somewhere, just to see how the coloring looks in it. If anyone watching has any of those single issues, or has any more knowledge on this, shoot me some pictures of the pages so I can kind of see what's going on there, because I swear I think that the coloring just looks strange, and if that's what the coloring looked like in the original, then truthfully I'm not a fan of the coloring. It seemed a little bit and again, it could just be page quality too, but it seemed almost a little glossy, not just in the page but in the colors itself. And but the pencils are just gorgeous. I mean, they're so great. And but it was good. I mean, it's a classic for a reason, and I enjoyed it overall. I mean, it's the art is definitely the primary reason to read that, though. So that's what I read last week. What I'm going to be reading this week, World's Finest number 30. I've heard really good things about it. It's one of the sort of filler stories, because we just finished the Implosion arc, and so we'll have this, and then there's an Eclipso arc, I think, that's coming up. So we have a Trinity story here with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, which should be pretty cool. And I've heard good things. I'm excited to see where this one goes. I am pretty bummed out that Dan Mora is off of World's Finest officially. I had made a post on my website a few, I guess it was like a month ago at this point, but where I noticed that Mora was off of 29, and that the 30 would be in August, and then September. I think that he wasn't on that one either, and so this was the first time where he wasn't. I mean, he hasn't been on any of the filler stories, and I call them filler respectfully, right? I mean, I love this format of, they do an arc, they give an issue off of the main story, and then go on to the next one. I think every book should do it that way. I think that's great. And then there's no event interruptions either, just because it's sort of in a separate timeline, which is so great. I mean, this is why I sort of want a completely separate World's Finest universe. I think that would be great, especially doing it in that format. But anyway, so this I said like about a month ago that this would be the first time that Mora wouldn't be back on the book immediately following one of the filler issues. And so I didn't have any confirmation that he wasn't going to continue with the book after that. But then he came out and said that he's done for now. Although he had said that he might come back, so I think that'd be good. I am excited. I put Superman on my pull list, so because that's the book that he's sort of moving on to. But I think we're gonna just get some unreal art in that book, so I'm very excited for that. So World's Finest. Dan Moore is still doing the covers, which is great. But yeah, so World's Finest number 30. I'm excited to read that one. Nightwing 117. I've already heard a little bit of a spoiler about this, and since most of you have probably already read it, I can sort of talk about it, I think. But I guess that there's a big retcon. People are calling it a retcon, and honestly, and I'm a big Dick Grayson, and he's my favorite character, right? So, like, I know his background, right? The retcon is that Tony Zuko was apparently trying to kill Dick Grayson, not his parents, but they switched up the routine. And everyone seems upset about that because it rewrites it or whatever. But I don't know. I always saw it. I never saw Zuko as targeting anyone. I saw him as just being sort of an agent of chaos. Just like, they won't pay me? Fine, I'm gonna trim out these ropes. Who cares who falls? Someone's gonna get hurt. I don't know. I mean, it truthfully doesn't bother me that much. I don't think it's the big other shoe dropping that Tom Taylor thinks it is, but I'm gonna reserve full judgment until I've actually read the issue. So that's important. But as it stands, just from what I've heard, it doesn't bother me that much. I don't know. I mean, let me know what you think in the comments if that sort of retcon, as we're calling it, even though it's hardly impactful in my opinion, if it bothers you. I mean, I don't know. I'm excited to read 117, and I think next month, so we have August and then September. I thought 118 was the last one, and then 119. Yeah, so that's right. But I guess are we not? We might not be getting anything in September. I'll have to look at that and see, because I guess if we're on 117 now in August and 118 is the last issue, then 119 is the DC All-In, so the new creative team. So we'll see. I don't know, but I'm pulling the new Nightwing as well, so I'm definitely excited for that. I don't hate Tom Taylor's work like a lot of people do. He certainly there's certainly pieces of his run that I've just kind of like rolled my eyes about, and there's also parts of his run where I just dropped the book because I wasn't excited to pick it up, which to me, that's got to be the number one indicator of if you should be pulling a book, is if you're excited to get that book every month, then yeah, pull it. But if you're not excited, then just wait for the trade. You know, I'll get the Beast World trade. I'll get the Titans Arc trade. I don't mind. I'll get them for a fraction of the price of the single issues. And I mean, this Heartless stuff, like, I want to know what happens, and I want to know what happens now. I don't want to wait. I'll pay the premium so that I don't have to wait. So, I mean, I'm not pulling Taylor's Detective Comics, just because there's only so much room on my pull list, really. But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think he probably gets a little more hate than he deserves. But at the same time, probably also gets a little more praise than he deserves as well. So, but he's not a bad writer. He's got good ideas. He can write a comic. And then finally, Void Rivals. Oh, I don't even know what number we're on. Is it number 12? The time feels like it's passing really quickly between these issues. I mean, just the last issue that we had was great. I mean, we got Durak and Salila, sort of connecting over the fact that it's not us versus them anymore. That there's obviously something bigger going on that they need to connect on and work together to fight, which I think is great. I think it's a really cool idea. And yeah, so I think that this should be. I feel like this is issue 12, and that this is the final issue of the arc. I mean, I can only imagine that this is going to be a big deal. I'm almost guaranteeing that Proximus shows up here in one way or another, whether it's an actual interaction with Durak and Salila, or if he is in a Bacta tank, Star Wars style. I don't know, but he's in pieces at the moment. But yeah, I think we're gonna get some Proximus action here, and we'll see where this goes. I'm interested to see when this will cross over a little more heavily with Transformers than it has so far. Obviously there have been Transformers characters in it, but I mean the actual book, the Daniel Warren Johnson Transformers. So I'm excited to see the intersection we get there, which I can only imagine will happen at some point soon. I was on the YouTube channel Near Mint Condition, thanks to the invitation from Dom of X and the hospitality of the Uncanny Omar, which was very appreciated. We talked about the November indie solicits, which I was really excited about. A lot of good books coming out in November. So I think I can link to another channel's video here in one of the video cards up at the top. So definitely check that out. It was a good time. I was on there with Joe Loves Comics. I was on there with Taylor Talks Comics. I was on there with Dom of X. I was on there with Uncanny Omar. All great guys. It was a great conversation. We had a lot of fun. So I'm looking forward to coming back next month. So we'll see where that goes. But I believe that's all that I have. So make sure you like the video. It does a lot to get the video out there. Make sure that you subscribe. Trying to work my way towards 500 subscribers. And thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it as always.